The monitor in room 114 fires its second alarm before the first one finishes. Draya Halston is already moving, past the nurse's station, down the corridor, sneakers silent on the polished floor. She does not run. Running looks like panic. Panic costs seconds. She moves with the kind of locked-in purpose that only comes from 11 years of knowing exactly what a two-tone alarm at that pitch means for a child. She hits the door with her shoulder and steps inside. The girl in the bed is 8 years old. Short dark hair fanned flat against the pillow. Chest pulling in fast, shallow, like she is breathing through a coffee straw. The monitor above her reads, oxygen saturation 91. Heart rate 127. And at the corners of her lips, barely, but unmistakably, the first trace of blue. Hi viewers, have you ever seen someone do everything right and still get destroyed for it? Drop a yes in the comments right now, because what happens in the next 4 minutes inside this hospital room is going to stay with you. Also subscribe to this channel and turn on notification button. Tell us where you are watching from. I love connecting with you all. Let's continue. Draya reaches for the bedside tablet and pulls up the medication panel. She finds the order she needs in under 3 seconds. Albuterol. Pending financial authorization. She reads it again. Same words. Pending. Financial. Authorization. That request is sitting in a queue right now. Not with a physician. Not with a pharmacist. With an automated cost management system Halston Medical Center installed 4 months ago when the private equity firm that bought this hospital decided every dollar spent on a patient needed a second opinion from someone who has never touched one. The average wait on that queue is 17.8 minutes. This little girl does not have 17.8 minutes. Draya presses the override without blinking. 11 seconds. That is all it takes. The medication moves, the numbers climb, 91, then 93, then 95, and the blue at the child's lips disappears like it was never there. Her chest finds a rhythm. Her small fist, which had been squeezing the bed sheet like a lifeline, slowly opens finger by finger. Draya exhales one controlled breath. Then the door opens behind her. The woman who walks in is not wearing scrubs. Not wearing a coat. She is in a pressed black silk blouse and tailored slacks, and she moves through the doorway with the unhurried authority of someone who has never once in her professional life been told to wait. Her badge catches the light as she enters. Draya clocks it immediately. Vale Caro. Chief Financial Officer, Halston Medical Center. Draya looks at the badge. Then she looks at the child in the bed. Same last name. Vale's eyes sweep the room in a fast, practiced arc, her daughter's face, the 4-pump, the override notification blinking red on the tablet in Draya's hand. For exactly half a second, something crosses Vale's expression. Something that looks almost like relief. Then it closes over, like a door sealing shut, and what is left is cold and precise and entirely in control. You executed a financial override, Vale says. Her voice is level. Nearly quiet. The kind of quiet that does not need volume to carry weight. Her saturation was at 91 and dropping, Draya says. She was going into respiratory failure. That clinical determination is not within your authorization. For more minutes on that queue and you would not be talking to me right now. Vale steps forward. 1 step. Measured. You just compromised a $187 million vote. The only sound in the room is the steady beep of a heart monitor, the child, breathing, the child, alive, because of what Draya did 30 seconds ago. Draya does not step back. She does not look away. But somewhere underneath the surface of this moment, something has already been decided. She does not know it yet. Vale does. And that is the most dangerous kind of knowing there is. The email was sent at 1:47 p.m. That detail matters. It matters more than anything Vale Caro says in the next 20 minutes, more than any form that gets signed, more than any policy cited by name. Because at 1:47 p.m., a full 21 minutes before Lily's oxygen dropped and her monitor fired, someone in the Halston Financial Authorization Office opened her case file, reviewed the pending medication order, and manually flagged it for cost review. The delay was not a glitch. It was a choice. Draya does not know this yet. She is still in room 114, still watching Lily's vitals stabilize, still doing what she has done every day for 11 years in this building. Down the hall, a surgeon named Dr. Ellison slows outside the room's glass panel, reads the name on the chart holder mounted by the door, sees Vale Caro badge through the window, and keeps walking. Faster than before. No one in this hallway is going to stand in front of what is coming. Across the nursing station, a 24-year-old billing clerk named Jabari Osei is staring at his monitor with both hands flat on his desk and his stomach somewhere near the floor. He pulled up the authorization timeline 10 minutes ago to reconcile the override flag on the medication log. Standard procedure. Something he has done 100 times. But what he is looking at right now is not standard. The timestamp on the hole does not match the system's automatic cost threshold trigger. It was manually applied. By a user ID he recognizes. From a terminal on the 4th floor. Jabari looks around the office. Nobody is watching him. He opens the screenshot tool, captures the screen, and saves the file to a personal folder he has never used before. His hands are not steady when he does it. He closes the window and opens a different one and stares at it without reading a single word. Meanwhile, Halcyon Medical Center was bought 14 months ago by Meridian Capital Group in a deal that made the business section of 3 newspapers and the front page of none of them. The announcement used phrases like sustainable growth model and patient-centered value alignment. What it produced in practice was a system in which every non-emergency medication order required financial pre-approval before it could be dispensed. In cardiology, that created delays that frustrated physicians. In pediatrics, it created delays that endangered children. The system treated both departments exactly the same. Draya had learned that the hard way in her 3rd year here, when a 2-year-old named Marcus stopped breathing on her watch during a 12-minute authorization wait that should have taken 2. She sat in a stairwell for 40 minutes after that shift and made herself a promise she has kept every single day since. She would never wait again. The hospital's compliance office would later call her override today, a documented pattern of fiscal insubordination. What it was a woman honoring a promise made in a stairwell to a child she could not save, by saving the next one. At 2:28 p.m., Vale Caro steps out of room 114 and makes a phone call that lasts 43 seconds. By 2:31 p.m., Draya's badge stops working. Her badge beeps twice. Then the light goes dark. Draya is midway down the east corridor when it happens. She stops walking and looks down at it, her photo, her name, her 11-year employee ID number, all still printed there, but the green indicator light is out. She presses the badge against the wall sensor. Nothing. She tries again. Nothing. Vale Caro is standing at the far end of the corridor. Beside her stands a man in a gray compliance department lanyard who Draya has never spoken to in her life. Neither of them looks hurried. Neither of them looks uncomfortable. This is not a confrontation to them. This is a process. Nurse Halston. Vale's voice carries just far enough. There's a conference room available. The room has no windows. 2 chairs. 1 table. A printed document already centered on the surface when Draya walks in, like it was prepared before the conversation in room 114 even ended, because it was. Draya reads it standing up. Grounds for termination, fiscal insubordination. Unauthorized override of financial compliance protocol. Effective immediately. No raised voices. No witnesses from the floor. No scene. Just a form in 11-point type and a pen laid across the signature line like this is any other piece of paperwork on any other afternoon. Vale sits down across from her. The compliance officer takes a position near the door. Neither of them makes eye contact for longer than a second. I need one thing documented before I sign anything, Draya says. Vale waits. I need it in writing that I intervened to stop acute respiratory failure in a pediatric patient. And that the medication she needed had been sitting on a manual financial hold for 21 minutes before I administered it. Draya's voice does not shake. Does not rise. I want that on hospital letterhead with a time and date stamp. Vale picks up a pen. She holds it for 2 full seconds, and in those 2 seconds, something moves behind her eyes that is not guilt exactly, but is close enough to its neighborhood to be uncomfortable. Then she clicks the pen and writes a note in the margin of the termination form. It is not on letterhead. It is 4 handwritten words. It will have to be enough. Draya signs. She takes the side exit instead of the main corridor. No goodbyes. No collected belongings. Just her phone and her keys and the particular quiet that follows the end of something that mattered. She is 3 steps from the elevator when the voice finds her. Excuse me. Not loud. Not urgent. Precise and unhurried, the way someone speaks when they have already done all their rushing on the inside. She turns. The man is in his late 70s. Silver hair, close cut. Dark wool coat. Eyes that are completely still, not empty, but fully landed, the kind of eyes that take things in without giving much back. He is standing in the middle of the corridor like he has been there for a while and does not plan to move until he is ready. You were the nurse in room 114, he says. Not a question. I was. He nods. One small, deliberate movement. Then, who authorized the delay? The elevator arrives. Draya steps inside. The doors close between them before she answers. Down the hall, in a room with no windows, Vale Caro is already on her phone again, 15 minutes before the most important vote of her career, with no idea that the man standing in the corridor outside room 114 is about to change everything she thinks she controls. His name is Eamon Rees. He has been sitting outside room 114 for 41 minutes and has not checked his phone once. He does not fidget. Does not ask the nursing staff for updates. Does not do any of the things that people do when they are performing concern for an audience. He sits with his hands folded, watching the corridor, and thinks. Lily is his granddaughter. He has watched her grow up in the particular way grandparents watch, from a careful distance, taking in details that parents miss because parents are too close to see clearly. He noticed 3 weeks ago that her inhaler was being refilled more often than her prescription allowed. He noticed that her pediatrician's last visit note referenced a new authorization delay on her maintenance medication. He filed that information away quietly, the way he files everything away. Eamon Rees has spent a lifetime filing things away quietly. He finds Draya near the elevator bank, her badge dark in her palm, and confirms in 2 short exchanges what he already suspected. He does not follow her into the elevator. He stands in the corridor and watches the doors close and stays still for another 8 seconds. Then he turns and walks toward the administrative wing with the measured stride of a man executing a plan he has been building for 14 months. At the reception desk, he makes one request. I need the current property trust summary for this facility. The receptionist blinks. Sir, that document isn't typically available to. Call the number on the back of this card. He sets it on the counter. Not a business card. A card with a case file reference number printed on it. They'll confirm I'm authorized. She calls. The person on the other end of that call answers in 2 rings and speaks for less than 30 seconds. The color shifts slightly in the receptionist's face when she hangs up. 15 minutes later, Eamon is in a private consultation room, alone, reading a document he has read before, once, in full, on the day the Meridian acquisition was first announced, and again on 3 separate occasions since. He is reading it now to confirm one specific clause on page 7. He finds it. He reads it twice. The language has not changed. He takes out his phone. He dials a number he has not used in 4 years. It rings exactly twice. It's Eamon, he says. Activate the emergency trust review. Clause 12b. A pause. Then, are you certain? Completely. He ends the call. Folds the document in thirds. Slides it into his coat pocket. Sits back in the chair. Upstairs, on the 4th floor, Vale Caro is walking into a boardroom where 14 people are waiting to vote on a $187,450,000 acquisition. She has given this presentation 4 times in 4 cities. She knows exactly which numbers land and which ones she buries in the footnotes. She is as prepared as she has ever been. She has no idea that 2 floors below her, an elderly man in a wool coat just made a 43-second phone call that is going to dismantle every slide in her deck. And the vote hasn't even started yet. 2:52 p.m. Vale Caro stands at the head of a boardroom table built to signal exactly one thing, that the people sitting at it make decisions that matter. 14 chairs. Dark hardwood. A display screen spanning 8 feet across the far wall, currently showing a slide deck with the words Meridian Capital, Halcyon Acquisition Phase 2 vote in clean corporate sans serif at the top. She begins. She has given this presentation so many times that she no longer needs notes. She knows which board members lean forward when she shows the margin projections and which ones watch her face instead of the screen. She knows how to frame clinical language inside financial packaging so that no one in the room feels the need to ask the kind of question that slows things down. The numbers on slide 6 are precise and well chosen. Pediatric cost reduction, 11.7%. Intervention delay optimization, 6.4%. Projected margin increase, 3.2%. She presents them with the flat confidence of someone describing weather data. She is halfway through slide 7 when the door opens. A woman walks in, late 40s, dark blazer, laptop bag over one shoulder, and takes the open seat at the far end of the table without a word of explanation. She opens her laptop and begins typing. Vale stops. You weren't on the attendee list. No, the woman says, without looking up. I was added this morning. By whom? She says a name. Vale does not recognize it. Vale moves forward. Slide 8. Slide 9, the property ownership structure. Standard disclosure, required before any acquisition vote. She has seen this slide a dozen times across 3 different deals. It confirms Meridian's controlling interest, acknowledges the legacy trust framework from the original hospital endowment in 1987, and clears the table for the vote. The slide populates. Vale reads the first line. Then she reads it again. Property Trust, Reese Pediatric Stability Trust. Established 1987. Eamon D. Reese, Primary Trustee. Emergency Override Authority retained under Clause 12b, operational control reverts to trust governance in the event of documented manipulation of clinical care metrics for financial purposes. The room is quiet. Not the polite quiet of people waiting for the next slide. The thick, pressurized quiet of people who have just seen something and are waiting for someone else to name it first. A Meridian director shifts in his seat. Is there? In a moment, Vale says. Her voice is steady. Her hands, beneath the table, are not. The woman at the far end of the table has stopped typing. She is watching Vale with an expression that is completely professional and completely unreadable. The display screen flickers. A small notification appears in the bottom corner. Incoming call, requesting screen share. Nobody in the room sent that request. Nobody in the room knows who did. The call connects before anyone can decline it. A face fills the 8-foot screen. And every person at that table, including Vale Caro, goes completely, absolutely still. If you think Vale Caro had any idea what was about to happen to her in that boardroom, wait until you see what this man does in the next 60 seconds without raising his voice a single time. Chapter 6 is where everything breaks open, and it does not break the way anyone in that room expects. The face on that 8-foot screen belongs to a man nobody in that boardroom has ever seen before. He is in his late 70s. Silver hair. Dark wool coat. Seated at a plain desk with nothing behind him worth looking at. No branding. No staging. No performance. He looks like someone's grandfather, quiet, unhurried, present, and that is exactly what makes every attorney in that room reach for their phone at the same time. Good afternoon, Eamon Reese says. A Meridian director pulls himself upright fast. Mr. Reese, this is a closed acquisition session and your access to this. In a moment, Eamon says. 2 words. No raise in volume. No edge. Just a man who has already decided the order of things telling everyone else to wait. He opens a folder on the desk in front of him. Before this vote proceeds, I am entering the following into the record. He reads. Flat, clean, no drama in his delivery at all, which is exactly why every person at that table stops breathing normally. 34 documented cases. 34 times in the past 14 months that a patient at Halston Medical Center waited for a medication or clinical intervention while a financial authorization queue processed the cost. 9 of those 34 patients were children. Pediatric cases. Respiratory. Cardiac. 7 of those 9 ended up in the ICU. 2 of them left this hospital with permanent damage that will follow them for the rest of their lives. 4 nurses filed internal complaints about the authorization system. All 4 complaints were dismissed without a single formal review. Average delay time across all 34 cases, 17.8 minutes. Today's case, a child named Lily, held on a manual financial flag for 21 minutes while her oxygen dropped, is case number 34 on that list. The nurse who broke protocol to save her was terminated 23 minutes after the intervention. Eamon closes the folder. The room does not make a sound. Vale Caro's face has gone the color of copy paper. Her hands are flat on the table. Both of them. Completely still, in the deliberate way that hands go still when their owner is using every available resource to keep them from shaking. Clause 12b of the Reese Pediatric Stability Trust, Eamon continues, was written in 1987 by my father after a 4-year-old died in this hospital because an insurance authorization took too long. The clause is specific. If documented evidence shows that clinical care timelines were adjusted, delayed, or manipulated to serve a financial outcome, operational governance of this facility reverts to the trust. Pending full independent review. The Meridian attorney at the end of the table is reading something on his laptop. His face gives nothing away, but his posture has changed. It has become the posture of a man who just confirmed the thing he was hoping he would not find. Mr. Reese, the lead director tries, the acquisition documentation clearly includes the 1987 endowment terms in their entirety, Eamon says, because those terms were non-negotiable at closing and your legal team initialed them on page 14 of the asset transfer agreement. He pauses. People rarely read page 14. The woman at the far end of the table, the one who walked in uninvited and sat down without apology, finally speaks. The regulatory filing was submitted at 2:14 p.m. today. Massachusetts Healthcare Compliance Office. Under the Trust Standing Oversight Authority. Vale opens her mouth. Nothing comes out. The acquisition vote, Eamon says, is suspended pending trust review. I will expect full documentation, all 34 cases, every timestamp, every manual override, every dismissed complaint, on my desk by 9 a.m. tomorrow. He looks directly into the camera for the first time since the call began. Good afternoon. The screen goes dark. And in the silence that follows, the only person in that boardroom who is not looking at Vale Caro is Vale Caro, because she is staring at the table in front of her like she is trying to remember how to breathe. By Thursday morning, Meridian Capital's healthcare portfolio had dropped 18.3%. There was no announcement. No press conference. No dramatic public unraveling. Just numbers on a screen doing what numbers do when the architecture underneath them gets exposed, they fall, quietly and without mercy, while the people who built on top of them scramble to explain why the foundation was never as solid as it looked. The acquisition vote was suspended indefinitely. The Massachusetts Healthcare Compliance Office opened a formal audit of every financial authorization case at Halston going back to the first day of the Meridian deal. They started with 34 flagged cases. By the end of the audit's first pass, they were looking at 97. The SEC opened a parallel inquiry 3 days later. Financial reporting practices. Pre-acquisition valuation. The relationship between care delay metrics and the numbers that went into the deal documents. The kind of inquiry that does not make headlines right away but produces subpoenas that last for years. Vale Caro was placed on administrative leave on a Thursday. The notification came by email at 7:52 a.m. She was asked to leave her building key card and parking pass at the security desk by end of business. An HR representative would follow up within 5 business days. She returned both cards before noon. She did not speak to anyone on her way out. She walked through the lobby of Halston Medical Center one last time in that black silk blouse, past the marble floors and the stainless steel donor wall, and out through the glass entrance doors. Nobody stopped her. Nobody followed her. That was the part that stayed with people afterward, how quiet it was. How there was no moment of public reckoning, no confrontation in the lobby, no scene. Just a woman walking out of a building she had spent 4 years shaping, carrying nothing but her keys, while somewhere on the 4th floor a conference room sat dark and a slide deck nobody would ever present again sat saved on a server that compliance had already flagged for preservation. Across the city, in a 3rd-floor apartment that smelled like cold coffee and medical journals, Draya Halston was awake at 7:14 a.m. when her phone buzzed on the kitchen table. She had been up since 5. She did not sleep especially well after terminations. She was reading, not looking for work yet, not processing, just reading, a pediatric care journal she had subscribed to for 9 years and never once let lapse, because she was the kind of person who did not stop being who she was just because a building had stopped paying her for it. She picked up her phone. The email was from an address she had never seen. The subject line had no subject. She opened it. 3 paragraphs. Direct. No greeting warmer than professional. We are aware of the circumstances surrounding your termination. We believe your clinical judgment on the afternoon of the incident was both correct and courageous. We would like to meet with you at your earliest availability. This is not an offer of reinstatement. It is something else. Draya read it twice. She set the phone down. She picked it up again. She typed one word, tomorrow. The reply came back in 4 minutes. Yes. She stared at that single word for a long time before she put the phone face down on the table and went back to her journal. She did not sleep that night either. But this time, the reason was different. The conference room on the 11th floor of a downtown law firm was floor-to-ceiling glass on 2 sides, and the city sat outside it like it had nothing better to do than watch. Draya arrived 7 minutes early. There were 5 people already at the table. A representative from the Reese Trust, 2 members of a healthcare ethics oversight committee, a federal compliance attorney whose name she had seen in journals, and a woman named Dr. Amara Okafor who ran a federal patient safety initiative that Draya knew well enough to recognize instantly and had never expected to be in the same room with. They offered her reinstatement first. Full restoration. Record cleared. 11 years of service reinstated as if the termination had never been processed. The trust had the authority to do it, and they laid the offer on the table plainly, without pressure, and waited. Draya listened to every word. Then she said no. Not with heat. Not with a speech. With the same flat clarity she used in a room where a child was struggling to breathe, because clarity, in her experience, was always the right tool for the moment that mattered most. Putting me back at Halcyon fixes one nurse's problem, she said. It doesn't fix why the problem existed. She slid a handwritten document across the table. 2 proposals. The first, a mandatory protection clause for any clinical override executed during a documented financial authorization delay. No retaliatory termination. No compliance flags. Legal protection, in writing, system-wide. The second, complete structural separation between financial authorization and emergency care protocols. 2 separate systems. No billing queue inside a pediatric emergency. Ever. The board pushed back on the second proposal. Too operationally broad. Potential legal exposure. Implementation timeline concerns. The vote went 4-4. The room went the kind of quiet that has weight. At the far end of the table, the independent director, a woman named Justice Abra who had said almost nothing for the past 40 minutes and had been writing in a small leather notebook with focused, unhurried attention, looked up. She looked at Draya. Then she changed her vote. 4-5. Both proposals passed. Nobody clapped. Nobody celebrated. The room just exhaled, the particular exhale of people who were genuinely uncertain which way something was going to land and are now holding the fact that it landed correctly, carefully, like something that could still break if handled wrong. Draya drove home alone. No music. Windows up. The city moved past her in the gray late afternoon light. She sat in her parking lot for 6 minutes after she turned the engine off. She was thinking about a 2-year-old named Marcus. A stairwell. A promise made to herself in the dark after the worst shift of her career. She was thinking about Lily. About the distance between those two moments, 11 years, one building, one vote on a table in a glass room above the city, and everything that had to happen inside that distance to get from one to the other. She got out of the car. She went upstairs. She slept. 6 months later, the numbers at Halston Medical Center told a story that no press release could have written. Pediatric authorization delays dropped from an average of 17.8 minutes to 4.1 minutes after the structural separation protocol took effect. In the 2 quarters following implementation, the pediatric mortality rate connected to delayed intervention fell 14%. 22 hospitals across Massachusetts and Connecticut adopted a version of Draya's override protection clause within 8 months. 3 more had it in active review. Jabari Osei, the billing clerk who had taken a screenshot of a manual authorization flag on an afternoon he almost talked himself out of doing anything, accepted a position with the Massachusetts Healthcare Compliance Office. He was 24 years old and would spend the next decade building documentation systems that made it structurally harder for a financial cue to endanger a child without leaving a trail so clear that nobody could look away from it. Vale Caro resigned in the 4th month. A 3-line notice on the Internal Communications Board. No statement. No interview. No version of the story she wanted told. Her name appeared in the civil settlement documentation and in the restructured oversight agreement that followed, and that was the entirety of the public record. No courtroom, no prison, no dramatic collapse. Just a name in a document and a building she no longer walked into. Draya visited Lily on a Tuesday in October. The girl was at her kitchen table, homework spread in front of her, feet swinging half an inch above the floor. She looked up when Draya came in, and her expression did the thing that children's faces do when they recognize someone from a place they cannot fully name, somewhere between familiarity and gratitude and the particular warmth that comes before the words do. They sat together for 20 minutes. They talked about a school project on weather patterns, how pressure systems built, how storms formed, how meteorologists learned to read the sky before anything visible happened. How do you know when something bad is coming? Draya asked her. Lily thought about it seriously, the way 8-year-olds think about things that deserve it. You feel it in the air before you see it, she said. Like the air gets heavy. Draya nodded. Yeah, she said. That's exactly right. On a Wednesday morning in November, Draya Halston walked through the lobby of Halston Medical Center for the last time. No badge. No scrubs. No ID lanyard. Just a manila envelope in her hand containing a signed copy of the policy documentation, a formality that she could have mailed, that she chose to deliver herself, because she wanted to feel the weight of this building one final time and know for certain that it no longer owned any part of her. It didn't. She handed the envelope to the front desk receptionist, declined to wait for acknowledgement, and turned toward the glass doors. The lobby moved around her the way hospital lobbies always move, purposeful and tired and full of people carrying things they didn't choose to carry, going places they didn't choose to go. A child rolled past in a wheelchair pushed by a nurse, kicking her feet with the easy delight of someone who had forgotten for the moment that she was supposed to be sick. Draya pushed through the doors. The November air outside was cold and sharp. The kind of morning that makes the whole city look freshly cut. She stood on the sidewalk for exactly 3 seconds, then walked to her car. Next month she would join the board of a non-profit healthcare governance foundation, no floor rotations, no medication panels, no authorization queues. Just policy. The slow, unsexy, absolutely necessary work of redesigning the systems before the systems redesign the patients. It was not the work she had trained for. It was the work that needed doing. She did not look back at the building. The woman who walked out of Halston Medical Center that morning was not the same woman who had walked in 11 years ago with a badge and a vow she made in a stairwell. She was something the building had not intended to create, someone who had moved through its worst design and come out the other side carrying the blueprint for a better one. When systems forget why they exist, someone has to remind them. She just happened to be the one willing to pay the price for remembering. If this story hit you somewhere real, if you have ever done the right thing and paid for it, or if you know someone who did, drop it in the comments right now. Your story matters and so does your voice. If you believe that character should always win over policy, share this story with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you are not yet subscribed to this channel, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on your notifications, because we bring you true stories like this one every week. Stories about people who stood firm when it cost them everything, and changed the world quietly because of it. Do not miss what is coming next. It will be worth your time.